Okay, we're here with the man formerly known as Rene Boxer Enriquez. He has a new government-issued name and identity, which even I don't know, nor do I want to, but he's welcomed me to do an episode of his podcast while he's here in town doing some work with the feds. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Look what I found, folks. I'll profit.
He dug me up. Well, we have a mutual federal law enforcement acquaintance who suggested we might do something together. So today we want to talk about a big case that's, well, it's an old case, but it's resurfaced in the parole system. And that is of the Menendez brothers, who are two people that I would assume you crossed paths with in prison.
I did in Los Angeles County Jail in 1990 when they first incarcerated.
And before I ask you about that, I want to, for those of you who haven't had a chance to read much about formerly Mr. Enriquez, though he grew up to be a very dangerous Mexican Mafia member, both in prison and on the streets, his childhood, in terms of at least financial stability. I mean, he didn't grow up as rich as the Menendez brothers or anything, but he's not from poverty. He's not from the wrong side of the tracks. And maybe he has a little bit of a different kind of insight into how young men from, not seemingly from the outside a violent environment could do the things they did, though they accuse their father of all kind of stuff. So what was your crossing paths with them like initially?
The Menendez boys, they were just kids. They were innocent guys when they were processed to the county jail. They brought Lyle onto the tier. And
you were in the county?
When county jail, high power. We were in 1750, and they brought him in. I mean, it was all over the news. We've seen the horrific crime. And we didn't judge them for that. Contrary to everybody's belief, they had no threat from the Mexican Mafia at all. Actually liked the kids. They were good guys, And in fact, I told this story 1,000 times before, but I used to have them buy cigarettes for us because we were in the hole, right? We ended up on G-roll, which is like complete isolation. Myself and my co-defendant, the whole Peters, they had just stabbed a Mexican Mafia member. So we ended up in isolation, and we couldn't go to commissary. But Eric was across the way from us on the next row, so we'd send a fish line under the cell doors over to his row, and he would get money from us and buy cigarettes. Worked pretty efficiently.
Oh, you even gave him the money. You don't mean you made him buy you cigarettes?
No. They would do it as a favor for us, right? And we did it a few times, and then at one point, the cigarettes got caught, or the money got caught. Something happened, and they felt that they were in danger because they lost $20 of Mafia money. So they went to Leslie Aberson, who was their defense attorney at the time, and told her, hey, we're in threat. This guy Boxer wants to kill us, and blah, 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 blah. And they separated them from us. They actually went PC.
Was that even true?
No, I wasn't going to murmur them. It was just like, hey, it's wash.
What caused them to get so, was it just that at that time the Mexican Mafia and your identity was so intimidating? They just...
Yeah, I mean, and we were pretty ferocious at the time. We were whacking people left and right.
Did you talk to them in a harsh tone of voice? Was there anything you did that would have caused them to be scared, or was it all in their head?
It was all in their heads. I actually liked them. I liked those kids, And Leslie Aberson, their defense attorney, knew Cuate Grajeda, which was another Mexican Mafia member. So she asked him, hey, make sure they're all right. And he told me, hey, make sure they're all right. So I was looking out for them. We were all looking out for them. They were never in anything.
Well, that's an interesting backstory. So the lawyers that you had in common, boy, that's the great untold story of the criminal justice system, is the behind the scenes of lawyers and people having lawyers in common, and whether lawyers do a favor like that or they pass information. I mean, there was just that lawyer that was indicted and beat the case sort of for the
Mexican Mafia.
Yeah. So they get scared, they leave. Specifically of you, now, do you have any more run-ins with them, or?
I don't see. I mean, I see them occasionally in court line. We see each other, but they're separatees for me. I don't know this. It's something else.
They put a whole separation on you over $20.
Over $20, yeah.
But that's the fear factor that they had at that time. So there was so much violence going on.
Rightly so. I mean, the Mexican Mafia was a pretty ferocious machine at the time. People getting whacked left and right in the visiting room. in front of the public.
Would that have been the peak time for violence? Late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, I think it's still an extremely violent place. I mean, if you could survive that kind of jail, you could survive anywhere because it is cutthroat.
Oh, it's worse than the prison.
It's worse than the prison. But the prisons now, I mean, there's about 80 murders in the past 2 years since the release of gang members in the shoe. So it's pretty violent there too. It's a rough and tumble world. And if it's not your world, like it wasn't the Menendez boys, I could understand their hesitancy in wanting to be around us. So for me, I really didn't understand the depth of it until I was trying to go to one prison, and
Oh, you could?
I couldn't because they had declared me their enemy at the CDC as well. It's called A12, right? The A12 meet. It's a form called the CDC A12, right? Where they declare you an enemy, a confidential enemy, and you can never be around them again. So I'm trying to transfer to this prison, and they say, you can't go there because the Menendez boys are your enemies.
You're like, what?
I'm saying, what? I like those guys. What the hell, you know? But it's just the way it remained. And it remains to this day that we are separatees. If I had returned, if I had recidivated and went back to prison, I could never go around those guys. But speaking of them, I mean, it's pretty interesting, our paths. I actually met the grandmother. I spoke to her in the county jail. Speaks fluent Spanish. Really nice lady.
When they went to PC, before we move on, just that, so if a normal inmate, like a Mexican American gang member or something went to PC, then obviously that's a big deal and they're no good and all that. When those guys did that, was it just kind of like whatever, that's what you expected them to do?
Yeah, I mean,
no one really cared.
For us, when they disappeared, we knew they PC'd, right? We knew that they had disappeared, and they went to, I think, the 7,000 or 8,000 floor, which is a medical facility within the old College Men Central Jail, right? And we knew immediately, instinctively, intuitively that they had checked in. That's what they call it, checking in, right? But it wasn't anything to us. They weren't part of our world. They weren't part of the subculture. They were just rich, what we thought were white kids, right? And so it's understandable they're scared. You know, for me, it was nothing. You know, they were never going to be targeted. They were never in any danger. They were never in harm's way. That just wasn't in the cards for them because they didn't involve themselves with our business.
What about regular, people that ended up in the county jail or prison setting that may have had a couple bucks? I'm a Mexican American businessman. I kill someone drunk driving. I get 5 years. What sort of, am I going to be taxed? Am I going to be preyed upon?
You're going to be taxed. You are going to pay into the kitty.
More than normal or just mine?
No, you're expected to pay $1 from every $10 that you draw from the canteen, and that goes into a kitty, which is sold to inmates purchasing commissary online. The way it works is like you approach somebody and say, is your family going to send you a care package? Because they have the ability to do it online now, right? And then they deliver it to your door on a specific designated day during the week. So yeah, my family's going to send me a $30 care package. Well, the deal is that they'll give you $50 worth of commissary or $40 worth of commissary for that same $30. The items that you want, here you go, boom. And it's a better deal for the inmate. But the Mexican Mafia is just selling the commissary that are collected from everybody.
Oh,
they have that.
And when you get the cash,
you get stressed on the streets. In 1 year alone, a Mexican Mafia member by the name of Eulalio Martinez, I testified in this prelim in this specific case called Operation Kitty Scam. Francis Hardiman.
What year was that?
This is 2014, I believe it was. 2014, 2012 and 2014. He had died. So I might have the dates up. I'm not as good with dates as I am with specific events, so I might have it off. He may have been deceased by then he overdosed in the county jail, heroin overdose. But Lalo made about $300,000 selling commissary.
In a year?
In a year in the county jail. That's pretty ingenious.
That he was able to turn to the street, so his family.
But the whole machinery is established in the county jail, which was established by notorious, right? This is just a innovative criminal enterprise that has been thought up by high school dropouts. So people think of the Mexican Mafia as like, they're dumb as rocks and they're just camel smoking, headband wearing cholos, órale vato. That's not the mob that I was from. And that's what the Menendez boys saw. Like, oh, shoot, these guys are dangerous. They kill people. This is the real mob. This is the real mob. And they had never been exposed to that in their life. So one of the things I want to discuss was the parole denial. You know, I have a lot of experience with the parole board, the California Board of Prison here.
Real quick, what prompted this sudden outburst? Was there some Netflix show? Like, why was there sudden this outpouring of interest in them? Was there a Netflix show?
There's always been. They've been huge on the media. Their trial was televised. It was early on, after the OJ thing, I believe. Yeah, it was after the OJ thing, or before. But it's one of the first nationally, globally televised trials, right? And I watched it. You know, I saw F.
Yeah, the Beverly Hills had that whole Beverly Hills.
Yeah, all the mystique of the Billionaires Boys Club.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Whole thing?
Yeah.
It was all the mystique of rich kids gone bad, right? And then patricide to top it off. They killed the parents, right? And I'm not judging them for what they've done. I've done far worse stuff than that, you know? I haven't killed my parents, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we put it on a scale.
Do you think their storyline of the abuse is true, or you don't know?
I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, so I don't discount the story. I think it came late in the game. I think that some of the letters that they say were discovered as part of their petition for some resentencing, that got them the resentencing and made them eligible for parole, may have been contrived.
Oh, so tell us about that. I don't know about that.
They petitioned the state of California to writ of habeas corpus for resentencing under 1170, right? Anybody can petition the courts for if you meet a specific criteria, new evidence, rehabilitation, a couple other things, right? And the courts are pretty lenient in those now. I mean, the criminal justice system has evolved so that everybody has a shot at getting out. This is probably due to the overpopulation of the California Department of Corrections at about 122,000 inmates, second largest prison population in the United States. Federal mandate required CDC to reduce their population. So in response, the governor's office, two administrations, Governor Evan G. Brown and Gavin Newsom, started revising legislation like Prop 109, 1170, Youth Offender, AB 260. These are all laws that make it people eligible for parole that never had the chance of getting out. Like me, and never had the chance of getting out.
So you kind of went through a similar process of them, that you had to petition, or because of the work you were doing, it was automatic?
The work never, see, that's what people has a misconception. The work I did never applied. I didn't work my way out or tell my way out or testify my way out of prison. I did 33 years in prison on this sentence, 15 more than what was statutorily required. And I received 6 parole grants, 5 of which were denied by 2 governor's offices. So in the Menendez boys, I think there was such a public outcry, and it was political optics. The Kardashians jumped on board. Governor Gavin Newsom requested that a CRA be conducted. That's a clinical risk assessment, like a side report, and eligibility from the parole. And the courts ultimately granted their resentencing and sentenced them to 50 to life, which made them immediately eligible for parole because they had 35 years in.
Oh, they've been in a long damn time.
Yeah. So when that happened, I thought they got a shot, right? They got a shot. But I think it was Eric that Lyle faced Robert Barton, full commissioner in the BPH. And Barton is no joke. Robert Barton was my commissioner of the last parole hearing.
Board commissioner.
Former Kern County District Attorney for gangs.
How many guys or how many people are on the parole?
When I paroled, there was like 22.
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah, but it's a lot of inmates going to board, right?
Oh, you're not seeing all. It's different.
You see a commissioner and a deputy commissioner, and sometimes you'll see 3 commissioners. Unless it's an en banc hearing, then everybody votes on the panel. All the commissioners vote. Like I ultimately went to an en banc hearing after I had to file against Gavin Newsom, right? Gavin Newsom had repeatedly denied me, making up excuses like I posed a threat to the community and I lacked insight. I failed to adequately articulate how I came to participate in so much violence. Just making up reasons until I finally took it to court. This is the 3rd time I took it to court, and the courts granted every issue that I raised. And when I knew at that point that Gavin Newsom had let me go.
Okay, let's come back to you. You were telling us that one of the Menendez went in front of a very particularly rough parole commissioner. And what, Barton, you said his name?
Robert Barton.
And so what happened?
He examined the CRA, and he considered their elevation to moderate level. I think they had lows, because you can get 3 levels. One is high, which is high risk for threat of participation in violence and recidivism, or moderate or low. Moderate's kind of neutral, right? Because I had a moderate.
Oh, it wasn't low.
I had a low, but they bumped me up to moderate. So it's really a subjective interview between you and an independent psychologist. Whatever they feel, they write.
Kind of scary.
It really is scary. It's
So you could just not like your vibe or whatever.
I had that happen with one particular psychologist. And the courts even determined that she took artistic liberty in her interpretation of my threat to the community. I'm paraphrasing, but they pretty much said that she was BS. And so did the parole board.
But yet they use those people's recommendations for
They
you.
are contracted by the Department of Corrections. So the Menendez boys went through that process. They went to the CRA, the clinical risk assessment. They found them still subject to manipulation, narcissism, and rule violation, right? Because they had been cracked with cell phones.
Yeah, here in prison, they're pretty like when there's a boyfriend and they're doing drugs. Like don't seem to have been model inmates, let's just say.
So in the exterior, they have this public relations image through the Kardashians, through Mark Garagos, their attorney, that they're reformed, that they participate in pro-social behavior, that they're model inmates, and nothing could be farther from the truth. Because the contiguous violation of rule violations in the CDC are indicative of an individual who will recidivate. So what the CDC wants, or what the BPA specifically wants, the Board of Prison Hearings, the parole board, disciplinary free behavior, pro-social advancement, insight, therapy, advancements in academia, and a vocation that you can utilize, plus for parole plans, right? Realistic parole plans. And they lacked in almost everything, right? They had violated the rules, they had a moderate CRA, they straight out, I think it was Lyle that says, why did you use a cell phone? He said, well, I thought the risk of using the cell phone, the benefits of having a cell phone outweighed the risk of getting caught.
Oh, one of the things that was in trouble for, he got caught with the cell phone.
Both of them did.
And they tell the parole board the benefits outweigh the risks. Well, that's criminal thinking.
That's exactly what it is, right?
I know enough about criminology to know that they would consider that criminal thinking.
But I'm not here to pound on them, right? Because I actually like them.
We're just analyzing the situation.
I think they have a real shot. Now, if they fly straight, stop associating with gang members, because they were also documented associates of the 2-5 gang, a PC dropout gang. They used drugs, drank alcohol, violated the rules.
Though and just to be fair to everybody in prison, I mean, if I was sitting in prison doing a long time, I mean, it would be very tempted. Like, that's such a rough environment, just like emotionally I'll have a drink. Yeah, I'll take a puff. Yeah,
I'll do a line or whatever.
I could see, so I don't, but you got to try to not do that if you're going to, the parole board's going to let you out.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it like your dissertation, right? This is your thesis. You have to create a parole packet, right? Which they did. And I think strategically they went about it all wrong. I would have postponed the hearing for another 3 years and went up with at least 3 to 5 years clean time with no disciplinary history. I wouldn't have used Mark Garagos. I would have used Laura Shepard, Tracy Lum, Michael Beck.
Garagos has a funny reputation, because didn't he almost get in trouble for something?
I think there was some controversy behind it, but he's a high power.
He is, but he kind of skirts the edge of legality sometimes.
He's effective, if you have the money to hire him, but he's not a parole attorney, and he's who represented them. Like Laura Shepard represented me, Michael Beck represented me, Tracy Lum.
Did you pay them, or they?
Oh, I paid them.
Okay.
Tracy Lum did not represent me. I consulted with her. There's another.
How were you paying attorney? Were you making money in prison from doing your consulting with?
I did. I was paid by the FBI, and
Oh, while you were in prison.
while I'm in prison. Yeah.
So that's something. Well, I guess it's a different topic, but it is very interesting. Some of your most famous criminals from all demographics, Alpo Martinez, the young black guy from Harlem, some of the mobsters, when they flip, they become, or like you're doing, a expert witness where you can testify in cases where you don't have personal knowledge, but you can say, well, this is how this works. In my criminal experience, this means this, right?
You know, an expert is an individual who has more knowledge than the average person, right? That's considered expert, right? I think my subjective experience, coupled with my involvement in hundreds of investigations and 60 trials, more than solidify me as an expert. I do consultation work now, and am contracted. So I hire out, right? Not to just anybody, right? There has to be some security measures taken, and there's certain protocols, right? But I can hire out now. I could do consulting with whatever, production companies, but in the legal field.
It has to go through, but you are, and not to get into details, but you are in a certain situation with the government.
With the authorities that provide some layers of security and protection. Yeah, I am in a program. But yeah, I am an expert. I mean, a qualified numbers.
So, but you've been making a nice living. You're not getting rich, but
I pay the bills.
make a nice middle class living from a door and that.
Bills. I pay the bills. You know, I never thought in a million years that I would do this, that I would take the ashes of my life and create something good out of it, right? But the complete transition from who I used to be into who I am today is kind of like, it even shocks me.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting. And I've only known you for these few conversations we've had a little bit in the last couple of days, but I can actually see, I mean, not in the behavior, but in the personality type. So you went from being part of a strong group, and then when you flipped, you were able to develop not a sycophantic, but like a reciprocal relationship with law enforcement where you're beneficial to them, but they pay you. So, and then you work, you're part of their system and to a degree, and you have some of the protections of, so I can see you went from a strong group to another strong group. You're somebody who, when you are buying into, I'm part of this and I believe in it, you're gonna fulfill your obligations into it. So I can see it. Obviously the behavior is pro-social, we hope, and not anti-social. You should read the book about him that Chris Blatchford did. And are you working on your own autobiography, perhaps?
I'm toying with the
We're gonna do a doc, probably. Yeah.
that's news for the fans, for people on Uncensored. We're going to be doing the doc, and we're going to be collaborating on some projects here, which is the purpose for this video,
So, what were you saying? Chris Blatchford. So I was reading your biography, and your behavior at your peak was pretty crazy. I mean, you would be out of prison for very brief periods of time and go on a robbery spree, some cases killing, doing that, just everyone with speedballs. Was there a suicide? Like, did somewhere in the back of your head, this is going to come to an end, I might as well bring it to an end? Or,
I had the desire probably to destroy myself subconsciously, right? I still haven't been through therapy. I did years of therapy to address PTSD, sexual abuse, and just try to learn my antisocial behavior and address that, right? But at that time, I had overdosed 3 times. I didn't care if I got a shootout in downtown Los Angeles. I was killing people. I wanted to go to death row, and I wanted to be this historic figure in the mob that they said went out on his shield, went on the blaze of glory, right? That's what I thought. And that was my mentality. I had so little value for life. I didn't care about my own life. How could I care about
anybody else? Let me plug my power.
So that was my mentality at the time. Like, I didn't care for myself. I didn't care for anybody else. And I didn't care who got hurt as long as I got my notoriety, my fame. I think what you saw was narcissism at its finest and antisocial behavior borderlining on sociopathy, right?
Were you ever diagnosed on it? You must be a little bit on the sociopathy scale.
You know, I the PCL, the psychology checklist, I scored higher than the North American mean.
But not that out.
Not high enough to be considered a psychopath.
Because again, this is all very interesting and quite complicated, because when you realize, well, males get indoctrinated to be members of the military where you kill. I mean, they often, some of these special forces guys that are now on YouTube, you know, they refer to Iraqis and Afghanis as the savages. I had to shoot a couple savages. Pretty crazy sounding, but because that's under the umbrella of the U.S. government versus under the umbrella of Mexican gang members, they're good, you're bad. And I'm not saying that is or isn't true, but it's just because someone can kill doesn't make you a sociopath at all, because killing comes naturally to humans.
It's innate.
It's very innate. And if you're exposed to it young, that's why they got to draft them kids 18, 19, because like friends of mine I know that are like super suburban nice, they have kids that have never been, that are 28, and I'm like, you've never been in one fight? So you weren't in a fight in the third grade once? Nope, I've never been in any fight. So they've never had the violence turned on in them, so you couldn't, now you probably couldn't even indoctrinate them in violence if we tried. But when you grew up, did you grow up in a household of being, like hit by?
There was corporal punishment by my father. I mean,
do you think it was it back then? A lot of people did that. Do you think it was excessive, or
it wasn't to the point where, like, I mean, we got whipped with belts and ropes.
It's not crazy.
It does. I mean, it's a felony.
Yeah.
You go to prison for that.
And that was very normal.
The shoe, whatever was
very normal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You got your hair pulled.
In a lot of cultures.
Oh, you got your ear pulled. I remember my dad used to grab me by the back of the neck and say, I'll break your neck. I think that some of that instilled in me the need to belong. Coupled with the sexual abuse that I experienced, I lacked self-confidence. I needed to belong. And I didn't find that in my family. So I gravitated towards gangs. That became my surrogate family, which I think is part of the phenomena.
Oh, absolutely.
Gangs exist today. People need to belong. I mean, it's simple psychology, simple sociology.
There's so many broken, well, the statistics bear it out. I mean, the decline of the family structure. So among college graduates, the demographics of America are the same as they were 70 or 80 years ago. People do, a married college graduate couple does well, their children do fine, their income's going up, they own a home, they don't tend to have, I mean, problems strike everybody, but they, low rates of drug and alcohol abuse, etc. But it used to be 30, 40, 50 years ago, there was a lot of high school graduates, men who had a job and they had a family structure. Now what you've seen is a total collapse. Pretty much anyone who's not a college graduate, the social indicators are bad, and there's so many broken homes, and they're going outside. And like Detroit is a city that didn't have gangs when I was growing up. Now it was extremely violent. People are just violent, but now I go back, I see there's all these gangs, and there's LA gangs getting indicted. There's no one from LA there. It's they have so little self-identity, they're hearing something in a rap song or seeing it on TV. Oh, we'll call ourselves that. But it's the same thing that the gangs of your generation did with, the Al Capones and the Godfathers. And you were, whether it was you guys, black gangs, all the gangs would call themselves after, I'm the Godfather. There was a gang in Detroit in the 70s, the Corleones. Well, that was like a slang way of saying the Corleones. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, you're talking about, in simple sociology and psychology terms, is emulation and modeling. You see it, you do it. You hear it, you do it. You want to be it, right?
And we all want to have meaning and value.
We all want to have that. So the gang members are no different than the executive down the street. Executive down the street wants to be accepted by his peers. He wants to be elevated in a specific profession. He wants to be acknowledged He wants the acceptance and that core unit that he works at. Gangs are just a little different, right? They do have status mobility system. They do have same psychology. They do have the indoctrination process, like military and all that other stuff, right? It just works differently for an antisocial purpose rather than a pro-social purpose. And I don't mean to oversimplify, because I know sociologists and psychologists out there are going to start throwing big rocks at me right now saying, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I've done enough reading to know what I'm talking about.
And we've lived it.
I lived it. I have subjective experience as well as, book knowledge, right? But I wanted to really touch back on the Menendez boys, because I think they do have a shot. I think that they get rid of Mark Arrowood. Well, he could be an advisor or whatever. And I'm not by any means suggesting legal advice, right? But you need a real parole attorney. Like, there's 3 good ones out there that I really know.
They need to change their behavior.
Yeah, change your behavior. You'll never get out of prison if you don't change your behavior. I completely support them getting out of prison. I believe that they're remorseful. I don't entirely believe their story. I believe some of it's contrived. It may not be, and if I'm mistaken, then that's my bad. But the behavior, the post-custody disciplinary record, all that's got to change. So you need at least 3 to 5 years clean time, advancements in your understanding and insight, probably strong vocation.
Oh, well, they think they're going to get out and have a Netflix special and be celebrities.
They already have.
Well, they want a new one with them in it. Right.
Part of the drawback for them is their high notoriety, high profile. They're what is called as PICs, right? Public interest cases. And they had this immediate designation by CDC as a PIC, right? I was a PIC. And that goes against you by the governor's office and the board. Obviously, they have the ear of the governor. Kardashians are huge kind of a contributor.
If they let someone out, like you or the Menendez brothers, and you do something, it makes them look bad. So better, low risk, to just keep you at.
It says that
Look at Michael Thompson.
Michael Thompson was a buddy of mine.
He is a poster child for the lot of people that might have got out on parole, them saying, we're not going to risk it, because they went to bat for that guy and they finally let him out, and he promptly caught a case.
He got involved in...
Can we talk? Okay, can we talk about him for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just roll into...
Yeah. So the Menendez boys actually, have a real viable opportunity to parole. And I think if they adhere to a really structured path, kind of like a career path, because it is no easy task to gain parole, being a PIC case with such high notoriety. They can't use the heinousness of the crime or the impact of the crime against your parole. Actually, the heinousness, right, of your crime as a denial for... They can't. Oh, they can no longer. And Red Lawrence and a couple of Chaputis and a couple other cases that passed that made parole viable for Californians.
So murder is murder. Doesn't matter what if somebody get
decapitated, whatever the case is. The case is the case. Once you serve your time, you're eligible for parole, or statutorily, right? Now, the determination is whether you pose an unreasonable risk to the community. That's the objective of the parole board. And they have to prove to the board that they are now no longer unreasonable risk to the community. That's their job. It's the attorneys can't do it for them. Nobody can do the work but them. And I think they have a viable shot. I think that part of what you're seeing now is a result of knee-jerk politicians and the community jumping on board because this is a socially acceptable thing. They have millions of followers on Instagram and social media. We get marriage proposals. They got to rid themselves of all that. They got to step away from all that limelight and just focus on...
I'm an inmate trying to get out.
Exactly. Because I got caught up in that as well. I got caught up in that I got a book deal.
And you were getting interviewed.
I was getting interviews. I did documentaries.
While you were in prison. For you, it became a celebrity to a degree, not like them, but to a degree while you were still in prison.
Yeah. And,
and I don't like that.
They do not like it. They despise it. The board looks at that like, oh, you think you're special. You still maintain that narcissism. You want the attention, you think you're special, and you think you can violate rules.
And I was going to say, the reason narcissism is so important for thinking about criminality, because a narcissist would think, I'm special, the rules don't apply to me, which
that's exactly what
I'll commit crime. Right?
And I did the very same things they did. I did the very same things they did. I got high, I violated all the rules. I did all that stuff until I didn't, until I realized I have so much stacked against me that parole is almost an impossibility. I have to do this completely right. But the testifying didn't help. Certainly, I had over 100 letters from every agency you could imagine endorsing.
They still weren't. So you would get on the stand, help them, and all type of stuff, and that was not a get out of jail free.
No, never. Not one of them ever said, please consider his parole. Not one letter.
Really?
Not one. They merely documented my cooperation in the case. So the
How did that make you feel, if anything? Did you feel like you had more of a? Did you ever feel like, gee, I'm like really helping them? Like, why isn't there more of a personal? Why isn't someone saying, hey, Rene's a great guy, let him out, he's reformed? Did you feel you should have had that?
because DAs are judges in waiting, and AUSAs are senators.
Oh, they don't want.
Political optics. It's all about political optics. And once you
It's the
understand,
kind of time that you
put you endorse the criminal. I got a letter signed by Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States. You know, I'm dead serious. I had letters from everywhere. You know,
But they're just letters documenting what you did. They're not
letters documenting.
vouching for you getting out.
Yeah. So that's part of the problem when they says that the Menendez boys have letters from staff that endorse their parole. That's great, but that's not going to get them out. They could have one from Joe Biden or Donald Trump saying, hey,
But if you're in jail still breaking lots of rules
any rule.
and saying, well, the risk or the reward outweigh the risk, I could see a parole board person thinking, well, you might be out in the street
Saying that.
and say that
Well, it's proven statistically that inmates who violate rules in prison violate them because you can't adhere to the rules in prison. You cannot.
where the guards are walking past every 15 minutes.
Yeah. So that's the mentality of the board, and rightly so. So I think that if they do the work, they really get down to brass tacks and say we need a viable, top-notch parole attorney in California, and I give them 3 names: Michael Beckman, Laura Shepard, Tracy Lum.
Free consulting, Menendez brother.
Free consultation for you there. That's it. And there's another one, Heidi. She runs the USC School of Law. She's responsible for Emory Lawrence. But Laura Shepard got me out, and she was great. I mean, she stuck with it. She knows her stuff. She handles high-profile cases. Michael Beckman does. Tracy Lund does.
But you touched on the initial reason for the Menendez even being able to get in front was the change in laws, probably partially driven by this overcrowding and just America spent so much money on prisons over the years. State of California made a lot of changes in the last few years. Can you briefly tell us, or briefly, however you want to, tell people, have you talked about this on your channel, the California? Give us a little more insight, or give her, what's going on politically and how's it affecting the prisons, and what do you think what would be a better way of dealing with all these lost souls that find themselves in prison?
I think that California adopted, they adopted the Norway model. Norway model has broad latitudes of rehabilitation and centers for inmates. They call not inmates, but patients or wards, right? There's this whole shift in mentality, and one person was involved in it. They brought about the California model to be implemented here. When they did that, they gave control of the prisons over to the inmates, right? Because they released everybody from SHU, and that was a result of the Ashford-Brown settlement, right? When they did that, they relinquished control of all the general population.
California had most of the prison gang members locked down. They were still influencing things, but they weren't physically there. So there was some diminution of their power versus the 80s. But now all those guys are pretty much, they're walking around.
General prison population, receiving sentence commutations. 2 of them, like Marky Quitos, was released on capacity discharge, which is great. I love Marky. And Babo Castellanos was released.
CM Nuestra familiar?
No, he was Mexican. That's the other Babo Sosa. Babo Castellanos is Tablas' brother. He was released and passed away as a result of cancer. Rube Soto was recently released from California. Like, these are real Mexican Mafia members getting a shot to get out, which is great. I'm all for people getting out, right? I don't want to see them die in prison. I wish they'd change their lives and accept something better than darkness. But I'm not here to judge them. I was the very same person they were. So if they can get out, I say great, right? But the California model completely destroyed the CCR. CDCR is now more like a kiddie camp, right? And as a result of that, about 80 people have been killed. You know, not all
You
attributed.
said kitty, there's a lot of activity. Do they all get tablets?
They all get tablets. They all get free phone calls. They all get free emails. They have a open door policy. Well, they don't lock their doors anymore except for count times. They have
How it's flooded with drugs.
highly flooded with drugs. I mean, we're not even counting the overdose statistics that have occurred in the state within the last few years.
How many is there supposed to be? A couple hundred?
Oh, I don't even know the statistic, but I know it's up there.
Yeah.
It's up there, right? It's gone really sideways for the CDC. And so much so that they've abandoned the California model and they blame it on a budget. There's budget issues, so we're no longer going to utilize the California model. And they're going to re-implement a thing called, I think it's called 360, the 360 model now, that like wraparound services, right? Now, I think there are resolutions to this. I mean, if people want to participate in gang violence and criminal enterprise while they're in jail, isolate those guys. Give them everything that they're afforded. Give them rehabilitative programs, give them therapeutic programs, give them vocational, give them recreation, let them have their TBs and all this stuff, but put them together if they want to kill each other. Let them kill each other, right? Sounds draconian, but think of the other 96,000 inmates that are in population in the California Department of Corrections. They won't have to deal with it. Rid themselves of that non-designated housing program where they're combining with PCs and active inmates, because that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Oh, it's not waiting to happen. It is happening. That's where a lot of the violence is.
I know the wives, the prison wives, nobody wants this. Nobody wants their loved one to catch a case or to have to kill somebody or be killed themselves, right? I'm sorry. I think I speak for everybody. Nobody wants that. Let the PCs be with the PCs, and let the active guys be with the active guys. Everybody has their isolated programs. This resulted as a result of PC gangs blossoming in SNY areas, the PC areas, right? There's a gang for everything. They have the gay boy gangs.
So that's real. That gay boy gangster thing's not a deal.
It's real. They'll beat you up. You don't want to get beaten up by a bunch of gay guys.
And there's a significant amount of that. I mean, there's more than a handful.
Yeah.
The 2-5, the Pasito, that's huge, right?
It's huge. They have the Zapatista.
Yeah, what are the different, do you know much about?
I don't. I never had a problem with them, you know. And I'm not an expert.
There was starting to form when you were
When I was
in what's considered SNY.
I was on level 4s with 2 fibers. I was on level 4s with green lighters. I was on all those yards with all these gang members. I was here.
And even though you were this famous, Mexican Mafia dropout, someone gave you some heroin to sell.
A 2 fiber.
So that goes to show that side, even you, being someone who had been in a literal Mexican Mafia member, saying, you know what, I'm going to drop out, I'm going to testify. There was still so much criminality on that side that someone was like, oh, here, Boxer, here's some dope to sell.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Look, if you want to be a criminal in SNY, you can be a criminal in SNY. You can be a successful criminal in SNY.
It sounds almost like an SNY is a pretty arbitrary.
It is. I mean, before it was solely for dropouts, and dropouts meant that you had to drop in, you had to be a member.
Yeah.
And you got sent to a specific location, right? Now, with the advent of debriefing and inmates
Or what if
drug debts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I got a little heroin problem. I owe for too long, and one day I'm walking and they come and stab me. Well, I'm gonna get put on the other side, really, just because I got
That's the majority of guys joining those gangs.
Yeah.
No, there's killers in some of those gangs, right?
Well, where a person feel like, gee, I didn't really drop out.
But they call themselves dropouts, and they're not really dropouts, right?
Yeah.
They are SNY inmates. So the problem is that those guys that are victimized,
They're still in that mode.
they're still in the game mode, right? So they want to belong to something. They go over there, and that causes the problems because 99% of those gangs are garbage, right? If you look at the recruitment, the manners in which they do it, the quality of the membership.
Oh, you mean the SNY.
SNY gangs. Like there's dudes in there that are solid guys, killers through and through.
But there's really no rules, there's limited rules of membership.
You know what? It's kind of crazy because 2-5 kind of templates itself after the mafia. They say that they're anti-mafia, but one of their leaders is a Mexican Mafia dropout, Bertie Gonzalez, guy who testified in a federal case.
Oh, so there's people. Wow. So I guess it's always been like that, but people are really getting to see their true nature in the criminal landscape. So a guy who was in a position of authority in one criminal group, the Mexican Mafia, drops out, gets on a stand and testifies, and then I've seen you testify, but I'm gonna go, hey Rene, let's do our gang thing and do some crime.
I'd be the leader of our gang.
Right.
You know, take those skills and bring them to us. And it's like this total contradiction of what they profess to be against, right? We're against politics, but they politic on everybody.
Oh, I'm sure it's about all they do is sit around and talk gossip.
I think that's a big problem within the CDC. These gangs are a huge problem that they need to address. If gang members want to be validated in this way, send them to the SHU. Reopen the SHU. They shut down the SHU.
That was so many gang members. I mean,
lock them up.
But see, there now you come into budgeting things because it's so expensive when people in state government, when the community looks at the state budget and they're like, why in almost every state we're spending more on prison and college? Hey, we're going to cut your budget. So then you got to do something.
It's a never-ending.
Taking people out of those lockdowns are what's so expensive. If we can put you in a dorm, you give you a tablet, it's a lot cheaper per inmate than everyone's behind a locked door.
Yeah. So we're running out of time here, folks. We're on a strict limited basis here. So I want to tell all the viewers, obviously, this was an unexpected surprise and a treat for you guys. Al and I will be collaborating on something in the very near future that I think you've all been clamoring for. We're not going to let the cat out of the bag yet, but it's big. And we'll be bringing you more content. I thank you so much, Al, for coming on the show. Truly appreciate it. With that said, folks, peace out. Like, subscribe. As always, leave a comment.